show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom this morning is Mr. Ryan Peyton, Superintendent of Blue Ridge Schools. Mr. Peyton, good to see you. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Seth. How are you today?
Not bad, not bad. We've got these April showers ushering in the month quite nicely. I think, from what I hear, it's going to be a pretty wet April. So maybe we'll have that April showers brings May flowers, as they say, right?
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, we're ready for that rain to be done. But yeah, we actually, speaking of that, we've got a couple of areas here at the high school and at the Snyder building next door where we had a little bit of some water entry. But we actually have a tuck pointing project that's happening over the summer that we've already got out for bids, and we're ready to get that started. And hopefully that will help solve some of those little leaks that we have from time to time.
That's brutal. Have you had to mow the grass at any of your properties yet?
We have done some of the fields, absolutely. Some of the softball fields and baseball fields. We did some pre-work already on some of our grounds, so they've definitely been busy out there. All of our maintenance crew.
Definitely, very very nice, very nice. Well, hey, I'll tell you what, Mr. Peyton. One thing I have talked with your predecessors about over the years is an event called Blue Ridge Connect, where you try to bring all your folks together and get a feel for where the community is at. This is coming up for your district. First of all, tell us what Blue Ridge Connect is. What's this all about?
Yeah, great. So, we try to do at least a few different opportunities throughout the year to get stakeholder engagement and to kind of share information about, kind of what's going on in the district and give opportunities for community members to ask questions and just really to hear updates about district initiatives. And so we are doing that next month. It's going to be April 15th. It'll actually be in Bellflower. So every year we try to kind of make sure that we incorporate each of our three towns into different events. And so the spring event will be at Bellflower. It'll take place on April 15th, like I said, at 5:15. So we invite everyone to come out and be a part of that. It's going to be a really cool event. We start off with our STEM club here at the high school. Actually, we'll kick it off with some engaging activities to kind of get some hands-on learning activities for just all the stakeholders involved that day. And then we'll dive into some topics related to next school year. We are looking to do kind of teacher collab early out days. We'll do about 6 of those next year that are new. So we'll get that around 1:30ish, and that'll give teachers time to really dive into data and be intentional about looking at data in regards to student learning artifacts or assessment data, and really have an opportunity to problem solve and to just really grow in our instructional practices to improve student outcomes. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and that process. And then also we will dive into how we're going to help support some families during that time as well. We know that sometimes, with having some of those early out type events, people are having to get off work a little bit early, or we've actually been able to create a partnership with the Clinton YMCA. And so we're going to offer some after school programming on those early out days to support families that are in need of some childcare.
Gotcha. Cool. Very nice. Very nice. So with the Blue Ridge Connect, is it about just kind of keeping the community informed on what the district is doing? Or are you looking for input on what the district is doing? What's this all about from your perspective?
Yeah. So a combination of both, right? So sometimes it's just informing. Other times it's more of that two-way dialogue to kind of get information about that. So in regards to what we've done so far with our teacher collab and early out conversations, we've sent out some survey information to get some information. And so some of this BR Connect will be an opportunity for us to answer some of those questions and share information about some of those points that were brought up or questions asked. And so, and then once again, we're always open to listening to our community and trying to be as transparent as possible, because it's important that we're all on the same page and moving in the same direction.
Sure. With this, what has, and I don't know if you've been a part of these in the past. I know this is year one for you for superintendency, but have you been to one of these? What's the response like? Does the community really come out for this? What do you find with that?
Yeah, so I've been a part of them ever since we've started. I think I've been here now 10 years. And so just in a different capacity. I know that earlier on in my career, I presented on some new math curriculum that we were adopting and kind of what that would look like, for families. I know earlier this year, there was we met in the fall and we had adopted a new ELA curriculum, English Language Arts. And we talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the year on your show, Seth. And um, a couple of our district leaders as well as teachers presented on that CKLA adoption and just kind of what that curriculum is. So we're trying to keep people informed and be able to ask questions about what's going on. We received pretty solid attendance. We always want more, right? That's why I'm sharing this today, and we try to share it on our social media platforms as well. And we usually have about 10 to 15 families at least that attend. We would love to see that increase and double, so the more and more we can get people involved, the better it is for our students and our community.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. So again, the when and where on this year's Blue Ridge Connect, Mr. Peyton, and just one more time, how folks get that information.
Yeah. So the when and where, it'll be actually in Bellflower. So it's at the community center there in Bellflower. It'll be April 15th. It's before our normal board meeting. It starts at 5:15. It's about 5:15 to 6:15. And then you can always get information by going on our Blue Ridge app. If you go into the App Store, it's Blue Ridge number 18 comma IL. So, and then also just going under our Facebook page, we also update a lot of information there.
Sure. Very good. Mr. Ryan Peyton is the superintendent of Blue Ridge Schools, my guest on the Zoom here for this morning. Mr. Peyton, I know we didn't get a whole lot of chance to catch up before we got started, but you mentioned to me briefly that you do have some state testing either going on or coming up. I can't keep track of when everybody's doing these, and I know my kids are in the middle of it this week. So what do you have going on for Blue Ridge as it relates to state testing and yearly testing?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually last week we had spring break. And so the week prior, our intermediate junior high school, they completed their IAR testing, Illinois Assessment Readiness assessment. And so they did that assessment right before this week. Actually, I should say next week. We kind of had a little break here in testing. And then next week, our third grade will test at Snyder. And then actually we also have ACT testing at the high school on April 9th. Okay. That'll be for those freshmen through juniors there. And so, yeah, a busy time of the year. And then we'll do also some science assessments a little bit later in the spring as well.
Okay. Yeah. Now I know, kind of the big talking point out of testing this year, Mr. Peyton, is the fact that the state is redoing, I guess, if you will, restructuring. It's kind of how it grades schools on this testing, how it weights the testing in the school report card. Do you mind speaking to that a little bit?
Yeah. So I can give you just a little bit. I mean, I know that there's still some tours and things that are going on as we adjust, and that'll stick into next year. It'll begin, I should say. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some changes in regards to kind of the weighting of some of those assessments. I know that science will have a little bit stronger I guess measurement there will be more impactful, on some of those final designations that come out, and some of the designation changes will adjust a little bit as far as how many categories there are that determine the ranking of each school. I mean, I say ranking, but designation is a better term there. But yeah, we're really going to dive into that, this spring, and so that we're ready to share with families and information when we come back in the fall, because as of next fall, those new designations will be in place.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that? Like I said, I know this is kind of your first time through on the administration side, really having to deal with, whether it's the consequences or the things that come with those designations. But I don't know. What do you think about just where this is going and how that will, whether it make things easier for you going forward or how that will impact Blue Ridge going forward? What do you think?
Well, hopefully it'll provide a little bit more clarity as to where we are. I mean, obviously state testing is one snapshot of where individuals are. It's one measure that we utilize to kind of determine our impact on student learning and growth. And so it's definitely a tool that we will use moving forward because it is kind of what people see on the outside. So, we utilize a variety of, data to kind of determine our effectiveness and kind of where we're at. IAR or ACT or these standardized assessments, school report card, that's one component of it. We also utilize a lot of local assessment data to kind of determine our impact. whether that's iReady, which is a tool that we utilize, and just basic classroom informative assessments that we use to kind of determine our impact on a daily basis. The designation is, like I said, is one piece. We will definitely utilize that to kind of determine our effectiveness in that shape. But, I'm looking forward to the change. I think hopefully it provides a little bit more clarity as to where we are, and then also provides some more support, from the state and ROE area to make sure that we're providing the assistance we need to our teachers and overall just improving student outcomes.
Sure. Very nice. Very nice. So that all that testing's kind of yet still to come. I know you mentioned you wrapped some of it up before spring break, but you still have more on the way, you said?
Yeah. So third grade. So we have an interesting setup. Our pre-K through 3 building in Farmer City, only has one grade level that tests because the IAR testing starts in third grade. So those individuals, they'll start next week. Usually are done in about 3 to 4 days. There'll be some makeup testing as well. And like I said, ACT will be the 9th, which I believe is next Thursday. So those pre-ACT type assessments will also take place for those freshmen, sophomores. And then, we've basically wrapped up for the 4th through 8 buildings. So we're good there. The Illinois Science Assessment will still take place for certain grade levels. But that'll take place a little bit later this spring.
Gotcha. Very nice. How do folks follow along and learn more about all things Blue Ridge Schools, Mr. Peyton?
Once again, kind of going to that app is kind of our main tool. It provides notifications. It's a great piece to our communication platform. You can go into the App Store. It's Blue Ridge Blue Ridge number 18 IL is a great way to find us. And then also Facebook is another great place where you can find information about the district.
Sure, very nice. Mr. Peyton, let's break here, my friend. Come back with some more. That's Ryan Peyton, Superintendent of Blue Ridge Schools, my guest on the Zoom today. More to come with Mr. Peyton on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Now there's one web portal for local agriculture radio programming in Central Illinois.
IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
Local farm programming streamed live and archived to hear anytime.
IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
Hear the morning and noon farm shows with local agriculture news and interviews.
IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
Plus, hear all of your favorite agriculture farm shows, including RFD Illinois, AgriTalk, RFD Today, and the Closing Market Report.
IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
It's agriculture grown locally, streamed live, and archived to hear anytime.
IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
A service of the Miller Media Group.
AgriTalk is the radio talk show for American agriculture. Hi, everybody. I'm Chip Flory, your host. We join you weekday mornings from 10 until 11 on WHOW, on AM and FM, and on the WHOW streams. We provide farmers and ranchers with timely insights and information aimed at improving their operations. Join me, Chip Flory, weekdays at 10:06 on Central Illinois Ag Station, WHOW.
DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air and online 24 hours a day. The latest local news stories are heard every hour on Central Illinois' news station, the Big 1520 AM and 92.3 FM WHOW. Stream live at DeWittDailyNews.com. They're also heard every hour on the station that's your easy choice, 95.9 FM WEZC. And to read the latest local news on your electronic device, including tablets, iPhones, and smartphones, go to DeWittDailyNews.com. DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air, online, 24 hours a day.
Paul Skowron here, CEO of Warner Hospital. Spring allergies acting up? At Warner Hospital and Health Services, we offer fast treatment to help you breathe easier and feel better fast. Quality care right here, right now. Click on our icon on DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know. Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom, Mr. Ryan Peyton, Superintendent of Blue Ridge Schools. Mr. Peyton, one thing your peers have talked a lot about with me the last month or so here is cuts coming to mandated categoricals and the impacts on transportation. I know Blue Ridge has quite the rural district, so I wonder, how much is this going to impact you and your students and the community?
Yeah, I mean, it's to be decided, right? We'll kind of figure out where that number is exactly and kind of where it finalizes. But yes, obviously those reimbursables are going to be impacted is what it appears. I mean, they already we're prorated around 60 to 70% in some different areas, and that could go even lower, right? And one of the areas that impacts, right, is that if we're not receiving that state funding or federal funding in these areas, then it has to come from local dollars. And so when that happens, right, it potentially takes away from other programs, or it's money that's being siphoned out of other places that support students for transportation, in this case specifically. So yeah, it definitely will have an impact, and we'll kind of see where that goes. It obviously will also probably impact fund balances if we're not receiving that, right, drawing down kind of those areas. And hopefully that's something that can still be remedied at some point, but we will wait and see.
Sure. I wonder, along these lines, Mr. Peyton, has been the challenge of bus drivers. This has been something a lot of districts have dealt with the last several years. How is your district doing with bus drivers?
Yeah, I mean, it's always something that we're trying to hire and find. I mean, we definitely right now we have a great group of drivers that are here and aides, and we're very thankful. I mean, they step up and do a lot of additional work and are very flexible. Just to kind of assist, if somebody is sick, we don't have a huge pool of sub drivers, so typically we do have a few though that we're very thankful that help us out in situations where we're down a driver. We had some situations this year, not as many as we have this year as maybe the last year or two, where we've had to combine some bus routes, just to make sure that we can get people home on time. And there's a little bit of delay there, but it is kind of some just flexibility and different options that we've had to incorporate. And as you know, Seth, we are a big district. I mean, we cover 212 square miles. So there is a lot of transportation that's happening as far as bus routes go. So, when you talk about going back to those reimbursables or those mandated categoricals not being fully funded, it does impact a district like ours, since there is so much travel that takes place.
Have you, even though you don't have kind of final numbers on where those cuts are going or what they'll end up being, have you had preliminary thoughts and or discussions about what you might have to do in the event that happens, or anything like that has come to mind?
Yeah, we've had some basic conversations. For us right now, we rely truly on a lot of local tax dollars to cover our spots, to cover our revenues. I mean, that provide our revenues. Let me say that. And so, I mean, over 80, probably 85% of our funding is local, compared to other districts, that provide or in that need a lot of state funding to, maybe sometimes there's 8% that provide state funding is what they have. So I think we'll be okay, with these cuts, obviously, but they will impact us in the long term if we continually have to utilize local tax dollars to support that. It's taking away from money that could be spent in other areas, whether that's new teachers, whether that's curriculum, whether that's just a variety of other things that support student learning and outcomes. So it has to come from somewhere. So it will definitely have an impact long term. In the next year or two, if it's just a minor proration where we're not seeing as much money taken away, we can survive on that. But as it continues, over years or decades, right, that's going to deplete things.
Right. Sure. And just along those lines, it's got to be frustrating to, those are dollars that are supposed to come from the state, right? And to just continually be cut in those areas for services you have to provide, that's got to be a lot of frustration, I'm sure.
Yeah, it can be for sure. I mean, but we have to deal with it, right? And so we have to make sure that we find ways to adjust and adapt, and that's what we're going to do. And obviously, we keep having conversations with lawmakers, and we had a board member recently that went down to kind of an advocacy day and was able to speak with a couple of different representatives and state senators, and that was one of the talking points was reimbursables for regular transportation and special ed transportation, and kind of talked about the impact financially that would have on our district. And I don't have those numbers in front of me right now, but it's a solid number, that could be a few teachers, potentially. And so yeah, it is definitely something that we pay close attention to, and just as we look at future forecasting and budgeting and so on, we're just kind of taking that into account.
Mr. Peyton, like I said at the top, we didn't have a lot of time to catch up before we got started. I've got about a minute and a half or so with you here. Anything going on in the district you want to quickly highlight for us?
Well, there's all sorts of stuff. I'm just trying to think of everything that's going on. We fourth quarter is underway. It's really hard to believe that we are in the final stretch here of school. We actually a few weeks ago had an amazing fine arts show here at the high school. It was very exciting to be a part of. I actually got to be a judge, which was exciting. But we have such a talented group of high school artists. Able to show individual kind of works and then senior portfolio collections, which is really cool to see. Spring sports have kicked off, which is really exciting as well. Baseball team, softball team underway, track team is going, and that's pretty exciting. We actually have our junior high coming over now with this new track facility that we have at the high school. There's a lot of sense of pride and excitement to be able to run on the new track and the new space, and hopefully it just kind of instills, that program and kind of reinvigorates it as well. So we're really excited to kind of see that and host our first home track meet, this year and in May, and just, kind of see these things replenish and come back.
Yep. Very good. On that note, Mr. Peyton, one more time, how folks follow along with Blue Ridge Schools.
Yep. Go ahead and you can go to the app. BlueRidge18.il basically is one of the best ways. It provides notifications and a variety of information, calendars, just different updates that are occurring. And also the Facebook page is another good spot to go to.
Mr. Peyton, always good to see you, sir. Thanks so much. Ryan Peyton, Superintendent of Blue Ridge Schools, my guest on the Zoom. Network News on the way.